Thank you all to the channel members for supporting the content I create. Hi there, welcome to my full and complete Encore guide. If you're watching this, I'm assuming you've already pulled or plan on pulling for Encore, because as it currently stands, even though she's been out for relatively 8 days now, there are pretty much no YouTubers making actually decent guide videos on most of the characters in game. So I will be doing that myself, because I'm sick of not finding proper information, and unfortunately I had to learn it all myself. But that's okay, because now I'm here to transfer the knowledge I learned onto you. Encore is one of the premier DPSs in Wuthering Waves, and she is very valuable in many ways, mostly because she's able to do a large chunk of her damage off-field. On top of that, she has a very strong DPS burst window that she can abuse for 15 seconds every rotation. This means that Encore is easily able to be a sub-slot in on any team, no matter what. Whether it be DPS or sub-DPS, Encore won't be going anywhere for a while, as her case in the meta is very unique. So, if you don't know how to build Encore and you would like to learn, then please take this time to stop, pay attention, and listen. If this video is helpful to you, then please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. I plan on making more guide videos that go into immense detail in the future. So I apologize if things are a little choppy now. I'm still quite new to this. But I assure you that the information that I bring will be valuable. That being said, we need to start with the boring stuff. Encore is a fusion-type rectifier damage dealer that fills up a rage meter in order to do small hits of burst damage. Her skill allows her to fire off a flurry of attacks that will deal a large chunk of damage over a course of time, which ends in an explosion, while her liberation burst allows her to use an ultimate mode, dealing more damage with more skills over a short period of time. Encore, much like every character in the game, has a gimmick. Encore's gimmick in particular is setting the ground on fire, dealing ticks of fusion damage. The fire can be cast with her intro skill, her outro skill, on the final hit of her regular character skill, and occasionally when she uses her rage meter. For my testing, only her intro and outro skill have an 100% chance of proccing this, and there is some sort of internal cooldown on how often it can be used. And unlike most characters whose gimmick don't really change much about the character, Encore's fire on field does a ton of damage. For my testing, it can do upwards of 5,000 damage of tick while Encore is not even on the field. However, it does require an enemy staying still for you to get most of the damage, so it's best used when an enemy is broken. That is the general information of her kit. If it sounds interesting, good, we'll go into more detail later on when we're showing you practical gameplay. For now, however, let's talk about how to build Encore. First things first, leveling up. I know leveling up characters can be expensive in these type of games, but you always need to make sure your DPS stays topped off no matter what. Level up Encore, make sure she is your highest level, and ensure that you are getting proper value from your DPS. As for her weapon, Encore is a Reficer user, meaning there's not that many good options as it currently stands. Typically you would want to have crit rate or crit damage as your substat on your weapon, but unfortunately, that's not currently possible. That is, unless you're leveling up the Pioneer podcast, in which case you would want to get the Augment weapon that can be obtained at level 30. This increases the caster's crit rate by a set amount, while also increasing the attack percent of the character when you're using your ultimate attacks. For those of you that don't have the Pioneer podcast, or for those of you that do and didn't pick this weapon, don't worry, there are still other options. For the 4-star options, there's really only one choice, the Jiaozu Keeper. This will level up your attack as you level up the weapon. On top of that, when you use your intro skill, it'll increase the caster's attack by 8%. It also raises the HP by a little bit, but that really doesn't matter that much. And because all players will receive a 5-star weapon for free when they reach Union level 45, which I know is a long time away, but please stick with me, it is highly valuable to select the 5-star option, Cosmic Ripples. For all intents and purposes, this is Encore's signature weapon. On top of having one of the highest base attacks in the game and increasing attack percent by a large margin, Cosmic Ripples also has a substat of attack percent, and it's very high. Its main feature is increasing energy recharge and normal attack damage when you use normal attacks, and for those of you that use Encore, you would know that you want to have enough energy recharge and basic attack damage to value her burst higher. For those of you who are serious about building Encore, I highly suggest you pick this weapon at level 45. For those of you who aren't that invested and just want to build her as a sub DPS, please pick Jiaozu Keeper. They are currently the best options. However, later on when Yulin releases, you might want to invest in her weapon, as it will be one of the better options for her as well. Moving on to the fortes, I'm gonna have to be honest with you, there are way too many characters currently in the game that you will have to be leveling up, so you're gonna have to be a little bit frugal with your spending here. However, the priority list goes as follows: basic attack, resonance skill, resonance liberation. Always prioritize these. If you really like Encore and you want to make her the best she can can be, then by all means level everything up. In actual truth, all of her fortes are pretty equal in investment level, so it might actually be better to fully upgrade everything. But as it currently stands, the 3 I named previously are the ones I would recommend you invest into first. Finally, we need to go over the hardest part of every single one of these videos moving forward, the echo list. I'm going to assume everybody watching this video understands how echoes work. If you don't, that is perfectly fine. Linked in the description of this video and in the pinned comment, there is a video talking about how to increase your damage. I go over there in immense detail on how to level up your echoes properly and how they fully function. If you are still confused a week into the game as to how echoes work, I don't blame you. It's complicated, so by all means, click the video, educate yourself a little bit, and I promise, not only will leveling up Encore be easier, but every other character in the game. My goal is to eventually make it to where all of you understand the game well enough to where you won't need my guide videos anymore. But for those of you that still need help, I will still be here. For that, let's go over Encore. For the first thought of your echo list, the only thing you should even humor using is the Hellbiker, also known as Infernal Rider. Hell Rider is literally made to be a subset for Encore. We know this because the final hit of his combo increases basic attack and fusion damage by 12% for 15 seconds, meaning that you have a downtime of 5% on his boost. As for the main stat you want to go on him, I highly recommend getting crit rate. Try to roll crit rate on the substats. Substats you want to go for not only Hellbiker but every other character moving forward is crit rate, crit damage, energy recharge, and basic attack damage. Next, for slot 2 and slot 3, I'm going to go over this in chunks because you're pretty much going to want the same thing. You're going to want a level 3 cost elite type character. You're also going to want them to have fusion damage bonus as the primary set. As I covered in my last video, most damage dealers want 2 types of damage bonus. Encore is a fusion type damage dealer, meaning we want our 3 costs to have fusion type damage bonus inside their main stats. I know it's really tempting to put that second boss in there and hard stat crit rate, but I assure you that doing, 150% more damage 30% of the time is not going to beat out doing 50% more damage all of the time, unless the substats are just incredibly insane, in which case you do you. Moving into slots 4 and 5, you're going to want 1 cost attack percent main stat characters. Now these are incredibly easy to get, so I highly recommend you putting in as many as you can and re-rolling them over and over and over until you roll crit rate. Then you can upgrade from there. If you manage to roll crit rate on both of your 1-star attack pieces and get crit rate on your main piece, you'll be critting 30% of the time, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I assure you, you hit way more in this game than you would in another game like Genshin or Star Rail, so 30% crit rate, in theory, goes much farther. Of course, later on you are going to want to get more than that, try to go for 50, 60, or 70, but as it currently stands, that is more than enough. Finally, your Sonata effect, also known as your set bonuses. I'm going to be honest, there's only 2 you're going to want here. You're either going to want to go for Molten Rift. This is the fire elemental, and the reason why is because it'll give you a base 10% fusion damage bonus, and then once you reach the 5 piece, you'll get 30% more fusion damage once you use your skill. Or, you're going to want to go for the attack piece, otherwise known as Lingering Tunes. The 2-piece set of Lingering Tunes will increase your attack by a base value of 10%. Once you reach the 5-piece set, on top of that, you will also be getting 5% attack every 1.5 seconds you're on field, maxing out at 20% attack, for a total of 30% attack. Obviously, Molten Rift is much better than this, but while you're building up your sets, and you're getting whatever has the best substats, I advise you go for a 2-piece of each, just while you build up your cards. With all that out of the way, we can move on to teams. From where it currently stands, in my opinion, Encore's best team would be Encore, Sahana, and Verena. The reason why I say this is because Encore will be your main damage dealer. Verena will be buffing the team with a 50% damage resist from the turtle, as well as increasing attack with a 5-piece healing set, as well as keeping the team alive and healthy, as well as dealing damage off field with her elemental burst. Yes, Verena is very good, and I will be making a video on her later on. The reason why you want Sahana on this team is because Sahana has basic attack damage deepen. Upon using her outro skill and swapping into Encore, Encore's basic attack damage will be increased by 38%. This means that it'd be very advisable to start the team off by using Verena, popping her turtle skill, assuming you've already beat that boss, swapping into Sahana and playing until you get an outro skill built up, and then swapping onto Encore and gunning down the enemy with burst damage. It's a very potent team comp, which I highly recommend if you're struggling against bosses. However, we all know that Encore is a main damage dealer. which is why I'd like to propose my current favorite Encore team, Sub DPS Encore. I know some of you probably heard that and just threw your fucking phone at me, but that's alright, let me explain. As I said earlier at the beginning of the video, one of Encore's main greatest qualities is the fact that she does high damage while not taking up screen time. For example, when you use her skill, you can swap onto another character and the skill outplay will continue until it reaches the final hit, at which point it'll end. Which means yes, while you do lose out on that final E explosion, you're able to take advantage of another character's higher damage field time, which is how I composed this team right here. Gian, Encore, and Verena. You see, the game doesn't tell you this, but all of Encore's hits have an AoE on it, meaning that if you were able to somehow group the enemies up with, oh I don't know, a giant wind dragon while using Encore's skill, you would easily be able to do a large chunk of damage to the entire team. Verena is here for the same reason as before. She is providing group CC by clamping enemies up with her vines when you mark them with burst, while also healing the team when they take damage. Personally, this is my favorite team in the game right now, and for those of you that have been lucky enough to get Gian, and for those of you that have Encore, I highly recommend giving this team a shot, as I currently believe it is probably the best team in the game. And for our last slot, we're going to do a budget team. Assuming Encore is your only character that is a 5-star, we will give you a team that everybody should currently have. The team goes as following: Encore, Suhana, and Morfetti. For those of you that don't know, Morfetti is actually currently one of the best supports in the game, and I will be making a video on him soon. But all you need to know for now is that when you use Morfetti's ultimate attack, he will deal damage from off-field much like Verena. So for those of you who don't yet have her, this is a very easy way to make up for damage compensation. On top of that, if you build him on a full Moonlit Cloud set, not only will Morfetti be able to get this damage percent off much quicker by stacking energy regeneration, he will also increase the attack of the next resonator that takes the field, whether that be Suhana for building up her outro skill, or Encore herself for more damage. On top of that, because you are building Moonlit Clouds, you could easily get the Turtle Boss as his main piece, and once again, reduce damage and increase damage for the team. Suhana is once again here for her basic attack damage deepen, and Encore is here again to be the main DPS. For those of you who want a little more comfort in your playthrough, you can always swap out the third option of every single team I have provided with you today for Baizi, a healer who everybody should get for free. While it won't be the best in terms of pure DPS, for those of you that aren't as skilled as other players, or for those of you who want a more casual experience, this is one of the better things you can do for your account. With that all being said, ladies and gentlemen, if this video was helpful, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Stay safe, and peace.